Hello, friends, and welcome back to the show. First of all, let me just say that I am just in from a beautiful sunset ride up along the Ishikari Beach, up along the Ishikari Bay. I scored a lucky Tuesday evening with no classes, and the weather was looking good, so it was up to the beach I went. Again, nothing special about that, nothing new. But when a ride starts in the evening, for me, the Ishikari Lighthouse and the beach are the perfect destination. And with no classes, I had extra time. So I just kind of sat down for a while and soaked in the sounds of the surf and the beauty of the sunset on a clear evening. Very, very refreshing, you know. But what I want to talk about this week is the township of Mashike. I was there to meet up with Brad Bennett of the tour company freewheeling.jp. I've talked about him a couple of times throughout the episodes of the show. I went and did a ride with him last year. When was that? Maybe last August, something like that, in Furano and BA. Just a gorgeous ride. Anyway, he was in Mashike camping with some friends, with his wife and some friends. So I thought, hey, I'd head on up the road and say hello. Because Mashike, folks, quite literally is straight up the road from Ishikari. Sure, it's about 110 kilometers up the road, but up the road nonetheless. Now, I wasn't really interested in joining their weekend camping event. I wanted to head up that way and check out a couple of sites by bike. I was going to sleep in my van in the Rumoi roadside station and cycle out to see the site of the famous bear attack in Tomamai. It's called the Sankebetsu brown bear incident. Now, I've talked about this on the pod before, but this is the reason why Hokkaido has such a fearsome reputation for brown bears. This was a series of bear attacks that happened between December 9th and December 15th in 1915. Over that time period, a male bear killed 7 people and injured 3 more. It's been called the worst animal attack in Japanese history. Sonny Chiba and Hiroyuki Sanada made a movie about it called Yellow Fangs. There have been books and manga written about it. And part of my original plan for this past weekend was to go see the monument at the location. Also to go see the shrine dedicated to the event. But alas, all of my weekend plans fell through, as they do from time to time due to various events in our lives. For me, it was the Friday night before the weekend. The Friday night before the weekend, my son's university soccer team won their semi-final game in the Amino Vital Cup down in Kanto. It's one of the biggest tournaments of the year for all the universities in the Kanto area. And winning their semi-final game for my son's university, Senshu University, was just huge. I mean, I don't even think they'd been in the tournament in 7 years. They'd won it before. That's kind of like ancient history. You know, teams' successful seasons kind of ebb and flow as time goes by, right? But anyway, the tournament is a very, very big deal. And after that semi-final win, obviously, that was them through to the championship game on Sunday afternoon. So any overnight riding aspirations I'd had were right out the window. But of course, I ditched the cycling plans, right? A game of that magnitude for my boy, for any of our kids, quite obviously takes precedence. Of course, right? Even if they did lose 2-0 on Sunday afternoon. But I ditched it all for a loss. I'm just joking. boy, if you're listening, if any of your teammates are listening, I'm just joking. The fact that you guys were such huge underdogs in that tournament and came second place is fantastic. Very, very well done, boys. Okay, but so cycling plans kicked to the curb. I just drove up to Mashike to say hi to Brad, and it was a great catch up. I've got some plans coming up in the summer where I need to be able to pack my bike up, and Brad threw a couple of Rinko bags my way, so very appreciative for that. Thank you very much, Brad. But while we were hanging out, while we're having a chat, right? You know, Brad was making up peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We had some rice and tofu snacks, sweet tofu. You know, those are called oinari-san. We threw a frisbee about for a bit at the Mashike Riverside Park and Campground, which, folks, if you're looking for a campsite, this is a very nice place. There's some gorgeous scenery there. One side of the camp is an auto camp, so the campsites have electricity, running water, all that kind of good stuff. The other side of the camp is a bit more on the wilder side. It's still, of course, it's not wild camping. It is a campsite, but one half has electricity and things, better amenities. The other side does not have anything like that, right? So obviously, pricing for those different levels of campsite vary, right? I can't even remember what it cost there. Not expensive though, but I think if you're joining an event, like they had all kinds of different things and games and things happening for the event that Brad and his wife and friends have joined. I think it was 12,000 yen for the weekend. And, you know, I've said it before. I'm not that ashamed to say it. I don't have a lot of money right now. Two boys in university in Tokyo will do that to you. So, again, I was going to do some free stuff. I was going to do a bit more touring around the area until the soccer team decided to win their semifinal game. But first of all, let me tell you about the town of Mashike. Because if you're cycling up the western coastline of Hokkaido, you will go through Mashike, okay? But I got to warn you about the tunnels. And let's talk about those tunnels a little bit later. But first, the town of Mashike. The town has a population of less than 3,500 people. Needless to say, this is not a bustling metropolis, folks. Apparently, way back in the year 1706, the kind of township was begun as a settlement for herring and salmon fishing by the Matsumai clan. And still to this day, fishing is the main economic activity. Maybe you've heard me talk about the Matsumai clan at some different points throughout the course of this podcast. But they were kind of the main samurai family, the main samurai domain. They were kind of charged with exploring, exploiting, if you will. They were kind of the first group in charge of for colonizing, settling. After all the things we've learned about Ainu over the course of this podcast, again, I think they were the main samurai clan charged with colonizing the island of Hokkaido. But so I've talked about them at various times throughout the show, and the Matsumai clan did a lot of that kind of stuff up here. So in 1776, they kind of started the township of Mashike. Fishing is still the main economic activity, and food production I was reading as well. I guess they do like all kinds of different fish pastes and all that kind of jazz. It also has Mount Shokambetsu, which has a height of 1,491 meters and is very popular with hikers. But the main attraction in the town for kind of tourists, people visiting, is a Japanese sake brewery called Kunimare. This is very popular stuff all over Hokkaido. It's a friend of mine, the guy I hiked up Mount eniwadake with. That's his favorite Hokkaido sake. So if you're in their area, maybe pick up a bottle and enjoy it while you're camping or wild camping out on the road. Again, very, very popular stuff. The town also has a mascot called Mercy-kun. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Sorry. Couldn't help myself there, folks. Sorry about that. Mercy-kun. Mercy-kun is a shy sailor seagull. Of course he is. And this shy sailor seagull is a protector. He apparently protects anyone, but is especially into the protection racket for children. Sorry. Just watching some Sopranos a little earlier, protection rackets, all that. Anyway, apparently this fictional mascot is out there running around protecting children. Good on you, Mercy-kun. Okay, so again, not a lot of information on Mashike, the sake brewery, the campsite. They have a supermarket, a very sparsely populated. I think they said it's like 9 people per square kilometer or something like that. Anyway, very old, started in 1706, all that kind of jazz. But it is right on Route 231. So if you're riding it, you will pass through it. That is also known as the Ororon Line, folks, and it's right along the coast. But as I mentioned, I have to warn you about getting there by bicycle from Sapporo. The tunnels, folks, the tunnels between Sapporo and Mashike are insane. And all totaled up, there are about 22 kilometers worth of tunnel in between Sapporo and Mashike. Now, the whole route distance from Sapporo to Mashike is only about 110 kilometers. So that's about 20%. If you ride it, about 20% of that ride is spent underground, is spent in the dark. So obviously with that, there are safety and psychological challenges that are very real. Now, let's talk about the big 3 tunnels. Now, of course, some of the tunnels are very short, not scary at all, less than 100 meters. But these 3 I'm going to actually talk about, these 3 I'm going to be actually naming are huge. First, there is the Hamamasu Tunnel. It is about 4.5 kilometers long, and it is an absolute beast. This, without a doubt, is the monster tunnel of the whole ride. Folks, it is dark in there. It's narrow. There's no sidewalk. It's damp. The road is perpetually wet. It's incredibly loud in there when a truck goes by. It's just those trucks, even a single truck going by can sound like a jet engine going past you in those things. Folks, if you're not ready for that, if you haven't experienced that before and you hear it coming, just stop. Just stop and pull over and let it go by you, because you can get so panicked. I mean, well, let me tell you. The very first time I was in a mountain tunnel was on my way to Niseko quite a few years ago, but I'd never experienced tunnel riding like that before. And sure enough, a truck went by, and they're not super close, but they're close enough. But I kind of panicked a bit, and I leaned into the wall a little bit. And I had this brand new rain jacket, and I ripped it, scraping it against the wall. I think there's still a bit of wall coloration on my jacket to this day. But folks, if you feel that kind of panic coming up, if you feel your nerves getting the better of you, just stop, put your foot down. The truck, the car, the motorbikes can be brutal as well. Those engines are loud. Just stop. put your foot down and just wait till it's clear and you can go again unhindered. Okay. Then there's also the Shin Okurige Tunnel, which is about 3 kilometers long. And if you're heading north, it is a climb the whole way. It is a tunnel climb, folks. And that makes that tunnel a slow grind in a confined space. Again, you might want to mentally prepare for that, right? You will be uncomfortable, okay? The third big tunnel is called the Hikatatomari Tunnel, and it is also 3 kilometers long. Again, the road is perpetually wet. It can be cold in those tunnels. And I know I've talked to quite a few people who have ridden Hokkaido tunnels, like down in Shakotan, Otaru. See, those tunnels are quite nice. Those tunnels all have sidewalks you can ride on. These don't. And that's what makes them so much more intimidating, is you're right on the road with the cars. I mean, even if you're coming down from the Asari Pass heading into Jozanke, those tunnels around the Jozanke Dam, they have sidewalks with a guardrail on them, right? Again, up Mashike Way, that is not the case, folks. These are a much wilder breed of tunnel. So with all the tunnels along that route, you want high lumen lights. You want high visibility, because sometimes in those tunnels, some of them are a bit older, there can be potholes, and you don't want to hit a pothole in a dark tunnel. That would just stoke the fears. Stoke the fears even higher. You want to make sure your flashing rear lights are in good working order. Also, I highly recommend wearing some reflective clothing. Basically, folks, you want to be lit up like a Christmas tree if you're going to be riding up from Sapporo to Mashike. Another thing you might want to consider would be foam earplugs. I don't mean anything to block sound. I just mean like something like a foam earplug just to kind of dampen the noise. Again, a single truck can just sound like a jet engine blasting away beside you. And also, yeah, be prepared for the temperature drop. It is much colder in those tunnels. It's much colder and it's much, much damper. So even the weather system inside the tunnels is different than when you go outside, even on a hot summer day. Maybe when you're coming up to those extra long tunnels, maybe throw a jacket on if you've got one in your panniers. Okay. Now, folks, there is a reason for all those tunnels. They weren't just make-work projects. Long ago, the area was absolutely inaccessible by anything but boat. The cliffs, the sheer cliffs of the area just made travel impossible. Now, these tunnels were mostly made in the late 20th century. This was all a massive engineering push, right? Yeah, so they're all getting older. They look like they're getting older. They're definitely darker. Like, I mean, if you've ridden the tunnels on the way to Yoichi, they're quite bright. They're quite well ventilated. These are not. They're pretty gross inside, to be honest. I actually have never ridden them. I've done detours to avoid these tunnels. I've driven them a bunch of times. And if ever I can avoid these tunnels, I will. At some point, I'm sure it's going to be unavoidable. I will have to ride them. But just driving through them, you get a real feel for them. I'm just not interested. I know many of you out there have ridden them. Some of you out there are riding them right now, and I do not envy you. Those that have done it, I envy your courage for having gotten through it. But okay, so check this out. Now, if you're like me and you're not keen on riding those tunnels, now, again, don't get me wrong. I don't mind riding tunnels that much. It doesn't bother me that much. Those tunnels are a different thing. Okay. So now, if you're not keen on those tunnels like me, there are alternatives. One option is skipping the coastline entirely from Sapporo. You could ride from Sapporo, you could ride straight up Route 275, which is, it can be a busy road, but you can zigzag in on a farmland. You can ride straight up Route 275 to a small place called Numata. There's a free campsite in there. So it's almost wild camping at this point. Then after that, you could slide over to the coast from Numata, kind of straight along to Rumoi. Yeah, you'd have some climbing to do, but you would completely bypass all those tunnels before Mashike. And after Mashike, if you want to head up north, straight up the coastline, the older line, Route 231, I think it turns into Route 232 at some point further north. If you want to go all the way north up to Wakkanai after Mashike, there's only like one tunnel on that whole way up after that. And it's not a bad one. It's well lit. There's a sidewalk. It's not bad, if memory serves. But another option you've got, if you've got your heart set on riding as much coastline as possible, but want to avoid the worst of the tunnels, you could ride north up Route 231 to Hamamasu and then turn right onto Route 451. You take Route 451 over to Route 275, then head up to Numata and again slide over to Rumoi that way. Now, be warned, doing that will add close to 50 kilometers to your ride. So, and there would be a lot of climbing involved with that as well. So just be warned, doing that alternative, you could either suffer the tunnels or add 50 kilometers onto your ride. The choice is yours. I'm not sure what I would choose. I know someday I have to ride those tunnels for the experience, but I'm going to keep putting them off for as long as I can. All right, folks. So now that you know what to expect, you can make more informed choices on what route you want to take when you're heading north from Sapporo and you're looking to do the coastline, okay? But also, folks, don't forget, some of that coastal scenery is hands down just some of the best there is. Some of the best coastlines I have ever been on. It's stunningly beautiful. Some of the cliffs are just gorgeous. They've got all kinds of different rock formations, colors of rock, waterfalls, historical sites. I mean, the scale of some of those cliffs are gorgeous. And heading south into Sapporo, you get a completely different view. I think the view's better going south because some of the cliffs almost seem to rise up in the middle of the road as you're heading towards Sapporo. So if you're heading north and you're not going to be going back that way, make sure to look behind you from time to time, folks. If you're only looking ahead, you will miss some beautiful scenery. And folks, also, don't forget, all along Route 231, there are very small but free campsites right along the route. One campsite I saw, I can't remember the name of it. It might be called the Ofuryu campsite. There might be room for 4 tents there. It's right off the road. So again, you're kind of safe from bears because, they're not going to be walking along that well-traveled, that busy road. And also there's quite a lot of coastline. You could camp on the beach in some places as well. So you could break up the tunnels by staying overnight somewhere at one of the free campsites. But also be warned with that, along that route, kombinis can be kind of few and far between. It's not like when you get a bit further north past Rumoi where there's like nothing. No, not past Rumoi. What's it called? well, okay, let's say quite a bit further north from Rumoi. There are long stretches of absolutely nothing. It's not quite that heading up the coast all the way to Rumoi, actually, but it can be a bit sparse. So make sure you pick stuff up at the conveni before you camp. You might not get a chance later on. But again, tunnels aside, this is a beautiful, beautiful place to ride. All right? Okay, folks. Hey, if you like what you hear, if you find value in the show, buy me some virtual coffees. And you can do that at buymeacoffee.com/Cycling Hokkaido. There is a link in the show notes. And as always, folks, please leave me a comment, rate the show, share it with friends. And as always, folks, I hope you're having fun out there. I hope you're having a great ride. Love ya.
Cycling Hokkaido!